Home, the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's digging. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Garrett Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world. You're listening to Huckin Eh podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Huang, from the Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Danie, probably from Vancouver, BC, and we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Guess what, Theo?
Well, we're speaking of Ultimate.
Speaking of Ultimate, you played Ultimate. I'm so proud of you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're recording this a few days after, waking up early, playing 8 a.m. Masters debut. Come on, playing some Masters Ultimate. It was a good time, 4-on-4. I think it was 5 straight games for 4 hours. So, yeah, my calf was not feeling well. And, yeah, it was fun, but maybe I'm just getting too old, Danie. The bones were catching up to me, I think. So that's sort of how I felt playing Frisbee. But it was fun to play, and especially play with a friend of mine that I played College Ultimate with, which is one of the theme, or is the theme of our episode here. But before we get to that, Danie, what about you? I know, hopefully you're recovered, actually, I should say, from that retreat. All the kids in your house and the cleanup and all that stuff. So hopefully you recovered from that. But what was your week like, or weekend?
Well, if you are one of my leadership kids and you're listening to this, I do now know who broke the door handle. And if you would like to fess up to me personally, my DMs are open. I don't think this person listens to the podcast, but you've been warned.
Their friend might, so they might out them or tell them, hey,
you've
been exposed on the podcast to our national audience. So.
Anyways, yes, it's been good. Again, like with my company, Elevate, all of our programs are starting up a little bit last weekend and then a bunch this weekend. We're in school. So we do phys ed programs. So we go into a school for an entire week, 9 to 3. We see 7 to 8 classes a day for 5 days in a row. So we see every division 3 times usually. So they get a backhand lesson, a forehand lesson, and a catching lesson with like lots of fun games. And we're in 30, 40 plus schools in the spring. So that's like 10,000 kids are getting Frisbees in their hands and playing. It just makes me really happy to kind of be organizing that. So we're kind of like right as that's ramping up right now. So it brings me a lot of joy. It also brings me a lot less sleep than normal, trying to organize everything, but it's been good. And Frisbee for me has started again. So got some clinics with traffic happening and tryouts coming soon. So I'm excited to be hitting the field a lot more. And I've been covering local junior tournaments too. And juniors are just like such little energizer bunnies. Like I get a lot of good energy from them. And so it's just been good vibes all around. It's good.
Yeah, the good vibes started last episode with McGill and just hyping up the college scene, McMaster too, and Carleton Open. Like they were just hyping it up. This episode's going to be the same. We got UBC Women's coming on. So there's just going to be a lot of college hype. At the time of this recording, we put out a sick video. We're super stoked about it. Danie's got some things to say about it. You're going to have to wait for the actual interview to hear her thoughts. But yeah, follow us on, this is my social plug early here. Follow us on Instagram. We're on the road to 1K. And so we got some big follows today from that reel that we posted. And we're excited. We're going to be posting more highlights, Canadian content for you on our Instagram. So make sure you follow that. Don't really follow us on Twitter because we're not really on that. So no. Instagram is where it's at, Danie.
This might not come as a surprise to people who know me, but I'm a bit of a feminist, and you'll find out kind of how that flared up for me in the meat of the episode. So before we head there, we have to head to the news because there are a few things to update, mostly around college, but a little bit around club and pro as well. So we'll head to the news and we'll see you there.
We now have breaking news.
All right. So in college news, UBC Open and UVic Open went down to the open version of the Northwest Challenge, and it doesn't seem like it's as hyped as a tournament. I think Easterns is the same weekend, which draws a lot of the better teams there. So it was these teams' kind of first tournament game kind of opportunities in a long time. And so both teams, I believe, went 2-3. I think they struggled a lot more on Saturday, both squads, and then ended up having a bit more successful Sundays. I know specifically for the men's team, they ended up winning 2 tight universe point games on Sunday. So showing some resiliency there. Didn't hear much else from them about that, other than it was good for them to get there, and it was nice to get some early season, or well, I guess preseason
It's kind of
looks.
late season now, isn't it,
I
Danny?
know,
But for
but
them, it might feel like preseason.
it's still like before conferences and stuff like that. So anyways, it looked like the teams both had a lot of fun. I was following along with them on Instagram. Keegan Freeland, especially at UVic, is just such a troll. If you don't follow them on Instagram, you should. It'd be a real treat. They're quite hilarious. So, and how they kind of interact with the UBC men's team is also really funny. So I did get like one thing from the Vikes team. They said going downhill upwind is a very awkward combination. So that was the only quote that I got from them. And I think for UBC, there were some injuries. So some people were kind of out, kind of tending to some injuries. So I don't think a lot of their team was able to be fully present. They only had their one coach, and he was in the hospital because Trevor splintered his clavicle. So apparently they wanted to shout out their rookie Davis for popping off as well. But that's it. Do you want to give us a little update on the McGill women's team? Because they ended up kind of going to a tournament. We didn't really necessarily know about it. It was pretty last minute, but following them on Instagram, they were having lots of success. Do you want to break that down for us?
Yeah, I'll break it down for you. Playing some New England teams, Boston Uni, UMaine, Bates College. If you're a college aficionado, maybe you've heard of those schools. But either way, 12-5 over Boston Uni, 13-2 over Maine, 12-3 over Bates. So cleaning up there at the big dance tournament. I'll be honest with you, the only big dance I know about is March Madness. So this is the first I heard of this big dance tournament. And kind of what they said to us on Instagram was, the difference between sort of like how the American uni circuit and Canadian circuits were organized. So Big Dance was kind of the only tournament they could compete in. Obviously, we had the men's team last week where they're at men's Centex all the way in Austin. So, this was only kind of the tournament they could go to. And it's kind of been a headache, they've been saying. I think, obviously, COVID playing some issues with that, with traveling across the border and just with even the regionals trying to figure out that time. And it's been a bit of a headache. So McGill women's, if you're listening, keep fighting. We want to see you at nationals. We want to see you at regionals, or regionals then nationals. Got it backwards. So keep fighting the good fight, and we'll hopefully see you there, right, Danny?
Yeah, and tag us and all your stuff. We would love to promote what y'all are doing. Everyone loves to see it. So always make sure to tag us so we can share everything that you're doing, especially your stories. It's a little bit harder for us if we have to like rip them from your Instagram, but we want to be the spreaders of good news. So Theo, you also have some AUDL news, correct?
That is correct. Montreal's roster has been announced, which I think people have seen, but we will eventually preview the AUDL season for the semi-pro fans out there. And so the Russian Outlaws starting to announce their roster, so you can see that on their social media accounts. Their full rosters will most likely be announced later on. So just keep checking the social medias for all the different rosters. Semi-pro happening. Danie talked about club earlier with her club, and we couldn't name every single club that's starting to have tryouts or thinking about things, because a lot of clubs are. So if you're interested in playing Club Ultimate, I know we've been hyping up College Ultimate a lot, but check in with your local Discord or some people in your community so they can tell you where the club tryouts are, because they're happening soon and you don't want to miss it. That's
Indeed.
my PSA.
I do want to, this is totally random, but you said Rush and Outlaws, but you said Rush and really close together. So what I heard was Rush and Outlaws. And I was like, is that a new team? I feel like they would not be allowed to play in Canada, given all the things that are happening. And then I read the note and it said Rush and Outlaws. So I'm fully caught up. We're on the same page. And on that note,
that is not, yeah. So to clarify, Rush and Outlaws.
I'm sure no one else is confused.
2.5 speed, they might have just heard of Russian Outlaws. So
I'm sure no one else is confused, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone, if anyone else is confused, they're not the Russian Outlaws. They're the Rush and Outlaws. Speaking of Outlaws, have you seen their social media posts of their like leadership? If you go to Jeremy Hill's page specifically, there's like it's like this old westerny vibe. It's just like a delight. If you haven't seen it, head over to his Instagram. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It very quickly became an emoji on our Slack channel. So go get it.
That was made by Daniel Cohen of the AUDL. So shout out Daniel. I know you made some graphics for some other people before. I think Khalif as well, and a couple other people that played in the AUDL. So I know Daniel personally now. So kudos to you for making that sweet graphic.
It's a delight is all I'm going to say. You have to check it out. You have to check it out. So speaking of delight, we are sponsored by VC. I'm actually wearing a VC Revo hoodie right now. It's not a Huckin Eh one. It's an Ultimate Spirit one. It is beautiful. And Thea's also wearing
a pajama shirt, apparently, according to Danie.
It does look like a Joker pajama shirt. Like you look like anyways, it's nice. It's nice. You can get something that looks super slick or something that looks like pajamas. VC has got it all for you. So we're going to head to our ad from them, and then we'll see you in the main event. This episode has been brought to you by VC Ultimate. VC Ultimate has been producing custom uniforms and performance apparel right here in Canada since 1998. VC's sublimated gear is made from 100% recycled FlexLite fabric, and design services and product samples are both free. Get your VC jersey today.
Hey, this is Miranda Coe, captain of the University of Waterloo women's team, and you're listening to the Huckin Eh podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
All right, welcome everybody to our main segment. We have two awesome players from UBC joining us. They had a tremendous weekend. I was personally just really proud of all of you. I've gotten to play with quite a few of you and have been able to coach some of you as well. So it was really fun following along on the internet and then to be able to see the videos afterwards. So we have Maddy Ong and we have Grace Huang, and I would love for you both to introduce yourselves and a little bit about your playing history. So let's start with you, Maddy.
Hi, my name is Maddy. I'm originally from Saskatoon. Some of my playing history involves playing with Bunny Thugs. That was my first team that I played on. And then last year I had the privilege of playing for Traffic, and that was my first time. And then this year I'm playing for the UBC women's team, and I'm a rookie on the team, as well as a captain on the team.
Rookie's pretty good. How about you, Grace? And captain in the first years.
My name's Grace. I've been on the team just like that 1 year right before COVID. So I would honestly consider myself a rookie for TBirds as well. I kind of started Ultimate late. I played Fable, which is a mixed team in Vancouver, which I think you've talked about on the pod in the past in 2019. Played like kind of practice roster Traffic 2020 and then just TBirds this year. Yeah.
Now, Grace, I know you are a big fan of the pod because I feel like I was on the Frisbee field last year and you'd be like, I just listened to your episode and it was like not to do with any Vancouver teams. And I was like, yes, Grace.
No, yeah, I was so hyped. I think I went to UCI this past year and I saw your gear there. And I was like, should I tell Danie about this? Should I buy it? Like, what do I do with this? And I'm like, did you see that? Did you see that? That's a Huckin Eh, shorts there. You're going to buy it? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, that's fine. It's fine. No problem. It's fine. No worries.
Next year. They can get it next year. No problem.
Yeah, next year.
All right. So I'd like to kind of kick off. It was your teams and you both, like your first college experience potentially ever or in a really long time being at a tournament like this with college age folks. So it was also a very different looking team since last time UBC fully competed. So how were you all feeling heading into a tournament for the first time? If you could explain a little bit about kind of like what the focus was going into it and how you felt about your prep. So let's start with you, Maddy.
Sure. Our team was really excited to compete, obviously. We were waiting for quite a while just for the UBC, honestly, to let us go across and to compete in the States and stuff. So all of us was just like quite excited to compete. As long as, a lot of our vets, they didn't really get to play like a full college season ever. So then that was just really excited. All of us were just going down, being really excited and kind of to see like where all of our hard work went. Because we've been practicing a lot and just to see, to have the chance to finally compete against other teams in the college division. We were all really pumped to see how we would kind of stack up against them.
Yes. How about you, Grace?
Yeah, I think I have to echo everything Maddy said. I think the last time I played was Stanford and it was like right before COVID hit. And I when the news came down, I was kind of like, don't worry, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And little did we know 2 weeks became 2 years. And so coming back on the field after that big break, especially with TBirds, was just so special. It like just felt like surreal. Like we were at the field and like ready to play. And it just like, I was like, could bring tears to my eyes. It was just kind of like an emotional comeback kind of thing.
Awesome.
So something that, Danie, you and I have talked about on the podcast was fall nationals and how some teams didn't get to go, UBC being one of them. So now that you were playing this big tournament, what was the team's focus? Was it more development, getting everybody reps, or was it trying to ramp up for conferences and regionals? Like, what was the goal of the team for the tournament there? And we'll start with Grace.
Yeah, I think Maddy would be better at answering this, but I think for us, I think because it was our first tournament, it was kind of a development, really see how we were going to show up for the first time, because a lot of us we kind of scrimmed against each other, but we didn't know how we would compare with the other teams. So it's kind of hard to really say. But I also think because we're so close to sectionals, regionals, and nationals, it was kind of like a tournament where we had to be able to do both, where we had to see and test the waters, but also kind of gear up for the big tournaments that are coming up pretty soon.
Maddy?
Yeah, just to add on to what Grace was saying, we honestly had no big expectations for our team other than really just to enjoy this opportunity and the chance to compete again. We really reiterated within our team, we just want to have fun at this tournament. So it was really fun, honestly, going in, kind of being like a wild card of the tournament. Not like nobody really knew what UBC was about because we're, like you said, Danie, a completely different team. So we were just really excited to kind of challenge and play against the best because we did know that a lot of the top college teams were going to be there. So we really just focused on honestly using the depth of our bench. And I think it really showed because everybody on our team is such a baller and they're so fun to play with and to play against. Just so to be even to see them make their college debut was just so much fun to see because everyone just stood up and rose to the challenge.
Yeah, it was really fun to see a lot of your rookies taking really big roles against Carleton and UNC. Those are the two games I was able to watch. And it was just, I felt really proud's the wrong word, excited for them, I guess, to see them being able to match up against players that are much more experienced at that level and doing really well and kind of overcoming a lot of really tough matchups. So when you first saw Ultiworld's power rankings, well, to give you a little bit of background information, it's kind of user generated. There's quite a few people that kind of get their tentacles in there and they kind of give information about teams based on roster changes and stuff. And they didn't know anything about you. And so they added me to this channel. And I basically was U20, U20, U24, this club team, U20 prospect. And it was the list was really long of all the players that I was saying held really high positions kind of in ultimate, all kind of funneling into this one team. And so you kind of came out with a really good rank for a team that they knew nothing about. And so I'm curious for both of you, did you feel like you were being undersold? Do you think you were being overhyped? First instincts, what was kind of the team temperature? And we'll start with you, Maddy.
Just want to confirm, we were ranked 10th going into the tournament, is that correct? Or were you talking about afterwards?
Not to tournament ranking, the power rankings. I think you might have been 11th, I believe, something like that.
So I honestly don't know too much about the power rankings, but I believe in our team so much that I'm I feel we could be even higher, but that's just I don't really have any good perspective of honestly any of the college teams. Even some of the rookies would ask me, they're what's this team like? What's this team? I was I honestly don't know. I am not the person to ask about this at all. But honestly, I like being the underdog. I think it's fun. So rank us lower and then we can show you how good we are.
That's true. Being an underdog is a really fun place where you can just kind of wreak havoc on everybody and be the surprise. How about you, Grace?
I think I pretty much am on the same page. I thought it was fine. I think because it's been 2 years to be 10th based on essentially no footage, no nothing. Great. I can't wait. Can't, what is the word? I love it. You know what I mean? And I think, like Maddy said, underdog. I think it made us work harder to just show up on that first tournament to show people that this is really where we should be on the rankings. And I mean, it's updated and I think it's much more accurate now, which is pretty good.
You're 5th right now, right?
Yeah, I think we're 5th now.
Yeah, I think that even that kind of got a bit of a pushback. I don't think you had moved up too much. And they're like, they literally stomped some teams that were good teams too. So anyways, Theo, you're up next with this question.
Yeah, I'm excited to ask this question as a fellow shorter person there. One of the things that was said, you know, in the internet universe here is that UBC's weakness might be their height. Or in other words, you're short. That's what they say. So what do you think about that? Grace, we'll start with you.
Yeah, honestly, I think they have a good point and also a bad point. I think we do have a variation of height on our team, but I think we have an equal amount of our tall girls and our short girls. And I think the biggest thing that I want to emphasize is that we play big on the field. And I think that's really what's going to come down to. We make the moves when we have to. We have teams that can or team members that can just absolutely sky somebody. And so it's fine. They can say it, but I'll wait. We'll wait on that.
And Maddy, as a fellow vertically,
what are you going to say, Danie?
Oh, I haven't finished that.
You play big, so that's all. I won't finish it, but you definitely sky people. So,
when I honestly saw that as one of their comments, honestly, I just laughed about it because I'm shorter on the team for sure, but I look at on the O line and I'm like, our team is tall. At least that's the impression that I get. Because when I look around, I'm like, all these players play so big, but also I'm like, this would be a very intimidating line. Because I was like, if I was on the other team, I would not want to go against this line or any of our players on this team. So then I think what Grace said matters the most is that we play big, and we think that honestly we can use our height to our advantage, just in a sense that we can use our speed and the grittiness even more.
Because you've added quite a few tall people this term, and add on the names that I'm not mentioning, but Andrea Moyer is very tall. Mika's tall and also is big in the air. You've got other folks out there. Start listing them off for me.
We got Anna. We got Doug, who's also named Grace.
Yeah,
who else?
Also named Grace. Avery.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Nancy's definitely on the taller end of our team.
Jess as well.
Our team.
Who's a vet on the team? She's also tall.
I've always thought that UBC's weakness was height, and that kind of long up game was something that y'all really struggle with, but I just don't see that being accurate for you anymore, especially this year once I saw the roster come out. So I'm excited for you to take that and prove them wrong again. So we kind of haven't really talked about the tournament itself and how it went down for you, but you had some very convincing wins along the way and some really tight games against the top two teams. So I'm kind of looking for a little bit of not a game by game necessarily, if you can't remember it that way, but if you want to talk through a couple of the matchups that you had potentially in pool play or kind of in general that were you had some 13-3 type games or 13-1 and a 13-4 type games. Can you explain what was happening in those games to make it so your team was clearly rolling to a victory? And Grace, I'd love to hear from you first.
Yeah, I think for me, and I think I can kind of speak on behalf of the team that way, it was really a buy-in. The whole weekend, we were invested as a team. We were engaged on sidelines. We hyped each other up when we scored. I think there's videos of our sellies, and it's just so fun to watch. And I think that really just made a big difference because we were so engaged throughout the game. We kept pushing ourselves, and we really tried to even if the score didn't reflect it, we were really out there grinding it out and really showing it. This is how we play at our best.
Awesome. And Maddy, when you're adding onto it, can you, if you can remember, talk through some of the actual game matchups as well?
Yeah, for sure. So just to add on to what Grace was saying first, we really wanted to emphasize the team first mentality. And I think that showed when we really focused on the depth of our roster. All of our rookie plays, everybody on our team played and would touch the disc a ton. So I think that was a huge contribution to our success. Specifically, I remember the Stanford game. I think the end score was 15-7. I remember going into it, and I have never played Stanford before, but some of the vets had said oh yeah, I remember in 2020 this was the team that we lost against in whatever tournament, and they kind of had a vengeance. But I was I don't know these teams. I was this is just frisbee. This is just a lot of fun for me. But I remember after we won and it was so convincing, our coach or just some of the vets said you should be so proud of how you played. Like, this team is very good. And the fact that, like, we, like, went and worked through their zone, like, so well, like, this shows how, like, our hard work is paying off now. So then I think that was, like, a really memorable game. Also, our game against Whitman, I think this final score was, like, 15-1. And that game, honestly, just really showed how our team just, like, had the energy. It was, like, kind of the last game of the day. We had just previously lost to Carleton, 15-13, I believe. So we were coming off of that loss, but us, like, captains and leadership really wanted to emphasize we want to end this day well. Like, because even though we're going against this, like, third team and they're not going to be as tight as Carleton, we want to, like, still win well and, like, show and, like, play our best. So then I think, yeah, just, like, those are some of the games that stood out of how we really, like, pushed one another and we just held ourselves to, like, a high standard.
Nice.
And now we're going to add our usual plug here for subscribers, Danie. So if you want to watch the videos of UBC in action, you need to subscribe to Ultiworld so you can see the games. So I had the awesome privilege of being able to edit those two games and kind of watch through what was happening. So one thing that definitely stood out to me was the ability, especially for the defense, to put pressure and also come back after being broken. So I know in the Carleton game, you go down, I believe, 6-4, and then you break back to get it eventually to 7-7. And then towards the end of that UNC game as well, like, you're trying to fight back. So there's different things happening where you're able to push back. What is the team or the coaching staff saying to foster that mental resilience to come back in those moments? So Maddy, we'll start with you.
I think one thing that we really emphasized the entire weekend was just the idea of being, like, present. Everyone, we called them and we asked people on the sideline, if you're on the field, we want you to be present in every moment. So then I think even in those, like, tight games where, like, obviously, like, we're down a few breaks, we need to get at least a few breaks to even stay in the game. We just really focused on, like, what can we do now? If we make a mistake, we're going to, like, leave that mistake behind at that point, and now we're just going to focus on, like, grinding and, like, getting the D back. So I think just, like, being really present within the team really helped everybody just to, like, buy in and not honestly worry about the score, but just worry about, like, how well can we play at this point, and we're going to leave all our mistakes behind. So I think that's something that really helped our resilience just to push back in the really tight games.
And is there, like, I know some teams, they have, like, a mantra or something they say on the line or, like, in huddles. Can you give us some insight? Is there something that your team says specifically to kind of get you in a good mindset?
Yeah, I can add on to this. So one thing that our team did at actually one of our first team meetings when we decided that we want to be a competitive team, is we actually had, like, 3 words that we led as, like, kind of our mantra for the entire season. And resilience was actually one of them. So, like, resilience, and then trust was the other one, and then a flock, which is the idea of, like, we want to be a team. So, like, there's, like, a flock of birds. So that was, like, kind of our mentality. So that's kind of our mantra going into our entire season, but specifically in tournaments as well.
Grace, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think I like agree with everything Maddy said. I think a couple things that we also really were good at is Danie actually, like, led a sesh with us just, like, right before we went to the tournament, and it was kind of talking about imposters and, like, how you can connect and kind of really, like, get rid of these negative mindsets that could make you play badly during the weekend. And so we kind of took a couple of those things, like, before the game start, we would kind of, like, be in a huddle, close your eyes, listen to the furthest thing that you could hear, listen to the closest thing, listen to your breath, like, things like that, just, like, really tune us into the game. And that I thought was very helpful because, like, it just kind of brought me back from, like, after, like, a lunch break or, like, a bye or something. I just was, like, ready to play again. And I thought that was really helpful. And I think, like, adding on to that, our team culture is just, like, I think the weekend we said a lot. We were like, this is good games. We're here to play some good Frisbee against some good players. And that is exactly what we're getting. So keep grinding, keep doing what we're doing. And I think that's how we were just successful with it.
Thanks for the plug. It was really fun being there. Speaking of good players and good matchups, I would love to hear you both talk about that UNC game, because I've personally played against some of those players, and Maddy, you were with me. So it's a lot of the Phoenix Ultimate team. So North Carolina is just a booming Ultimate hub. And I'm curious, now having played against Colton and Yunks, for example, do you have kind of some moments in that game that were kind of highlights for you, or just breaking it down a little bit, maybe some adjustments you'd make next time you play them, say if you're facing them at nationals? And Grace, if you want to start. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I don't remember matching up with them like specifically. I think it just kind of came up as it came up. But I think what we kind of started to do is like they're good players. Like they will make big plays left and right, no matter what you're doing. So it became more of a conversation of how can we contain them versus like shut them down. Because I don't think these players can be shut down, at least not yet. We're still working on that. And I think I think one thing that we can maybe take away is just I think Dawn Colton was really good at running deep a lot. And like, even if we threw an extra player on, like that like seemed to have no effect on her. So I think maybe next time, maybe try to work on that deep game a bit more on that help side. And I think we would have a better chance of containing them.
That's a good point. Maddy, anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it was really fun to play a team like UNC who just really utilizes their quick breaks, but also like their deep game. Like that was honestly really fun to like observe from this island, but also like to see, because I think we haven't had that much experience playing against teams who just utilize that like so well. So then I think I really appreciated the challenge that it like showed us, as well as it was a good like tester before nationals, because we know other teams are probably going to utilize the same strategy. So then I think it was really fun just to learn, like it's a really good learning moment as a team. Being like, there's so many different strategies, but these are one that we need to like learn how to adapt and like be able to like defend and all that stuff. So I think it was like a good challenge, and we're excited to like play against them again.
Yeah, we're hoping to see that definitely at nationals as well. So well, first that you get there, and then that you get to match up against them again. So we don't want to jinx or overhype too early here. So in terms of adjustments, the game that I was referring to that you could watch, the Carleton game, close 14-12 loss, but you're able to take them down the second time. So what were some adjustments you made? I noticed in the first game, Carly Campana, I believe that's how you say her name, she was making some big plays downfield. What were some adjustments you made on her and specifically the Carleton team during that game? So Maddy, you want to start?
Sure, I can start. I can't specifically speak to adjustments we made for like Carly, because I wasn't a part of that conversation. I wasn't also marking her. But for that game, we kind of just focused, honestly, we wanted to end the tournament well. And we were privileged to have like a good break in between, or like game before that, and then knew that they kind of like played right away, and then they only had like a 5-10 minute break. So we really just focused that game on like getting the Ds, but also like converting on their Ds. Because I know that we struggled a little bit with that in the first game, or the first chance against them. But then also just like prioritizing possession, but also just like finishing the tournament well. So we wanted to like play and like, I don't know, it was like the last tournament, so we all wanted to have like a lot of fun with it as well. But I think just prioritizing the discs up a lot. I think we had like 10 clean O points. So I think that was really like a good, like that was just like really nice to see that like everything in their team is really clicking, and now we're like really dialed in. And I think that helped towards a success.
Yeah, it was an amazing tournament. I'm so excited to kind of see kind of how conferences and regionals goes for you all. But I do have a question about regionals. And the bids. Given what you know now that you've kind of dipped your toes in college ultimate, who are the teams to be in the Northwest division, and kind of like how do you need to fall in order to secure a bid if you have that much information? Maddy.
I don't know if I'm like the best person to ask about this, but I believe it's like we need to finish within the top 2 at regionals in order to go on to sectionals. And I believe that Washington is in our pool, or like in our region, our sectionals as well. So then I think that's a matchup that we're really excited to go against, because we know that they are a very talented team. So then I think we're really just excited to honestly see how that goes.
Yeah, so conferences and sectionals are first, and then regionals is after. And at regionals, is there 3 bids for the Northwest to nationals?
I've been hearing only 2 bids for like both of them, but I could totally be wrong because I'm not too sure about that.
It could be a motivation tactic from the coaches, though, to kind of say like you need to finish here, so they don't, they kind of motivate. So I think that's probably part of it.
Because there's UW, you folks, and then the next top team. Like, where does Western and Oregon and Whitman kind of land in that? Oregon. Do you have any idea kind of how Oregon's doing this year?
I honestly don't, but I think I can succinctly say that we're going to focus on ourselves and not worry about the others, play our game, and then just show up on the field. I think that's the solution.
As a coach, I love that answer. As a podcast host, I hate that answer, but that's great.
Awful.
That's great.
Awful.
Theo, do you have any more questions while we have them captive with us?
Well, I did look up. It actually is 2. So the coaches weren't lying to you. They were actually truly giving you some honesty there. But
is it 2 from sectionals and then 2 from regionals?
I just looked at the regionals because
it's usually a lot from sectionals.
Too much, so. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, one question I had. This is totally off the cuff. Just came out with it right now. Looking through kind of your social media, it seems like your team just really enjoys being around each other. Like maybe it's just for the gram, and you all hate each other, which I don't think is true. But what do you do outside of team activities to foster kind of that friendship beyond just playing, right? Because you probably just enjoy being around each other. So what's something you do as a team there, Grace?
Yeah, I honestly, I think a lot of us are just so comfortable with each other. I think at practices, we're just really easygoing, and we all kind of like we'll warm up and we'll be like, hey, how's your weekend? How's your day? We'll just kind of all check in with each other. And I think that's just kind of the first bit of it. A lot of us like to go out and we do bubble tea runs after practice sometimes. So we'll just kind of hang out and chit chat. And going away this weekend was also really nice because it just we just spent so much time with each other. So our bonding just was phenomenal. I don't know, I love my teammates so much. I couldn't tell you exactly what brought me to love them this much, but I think it just happened. The people are amazing. That's all.
Maddy, do you have anything to add? I know it's your first year on the team, so.
Yeah, first year on the team, but it's a very great team dynamic, and just we all, Grace said, we all have a lot of fun together. Often a lot of us will study together, or somebody will book a study room, and then often either before practice or honestly anytime during the week, we're all studying and just get together, and it's just a very fun team to be a part of. And I think just the vibe that I've also been getting from other vets is they say that this team is special and unique in just the sense that we all connect with each other really well. That all of us trust each other, but this is just so much fun. Every single time we have practices and stuff, it's just so much fun to be at. Sometimes it's too much fun that we're hey, gotta dial it in just for a second. Let's focus just for a second. But our team is just like really fun. Everybody's like so phenomenal and like fun to be around. So yeah, it's a really fun time.
From an outside perspective, having been following UBC since like 2009 as a rival and then as a friend, I have to agree. This team does seem different, and it does seem like there's kind of a special, unique vibe around it. And I'm just like, I'm so excited to follow. I would have literally flown to Walla Walla to watch on Saturday if there wasn't a training camp that weekend and a tryout on the next day. So just because I think it would be so much fun to watch. So it's been a pleasure kind of being able to be a part of the journey while watching you and kind of getting to know all of you as players. And Theo, any last questions?
Danie, I know you have a question in your mind right now.
I do, but I don't know if it's the one you think it is.
Well, I hope it's the one that we were talking about off air that you would love to ask our guests about, related to something that was posted today. But
I'm not going to. Okay,
I'll let you ask the question.
Okay, I'll ask that one first, and then I'll save my nicer one for afterwards. So I have to admit that I was very triggered today, and I get very triggered by this on social media. But there is a trend, and I don't like this as a trend, but it seems that it's more often than not when there's highlights or something being posted of women laying out, a lot of times there's a good amount of there's a high chance that there's somebody in the comments that's going to be saying gratuitous, travel, I could have done that, or whatever like that. You see a lot more negative comments in the videos of women's highlights than men's highlights, and it's never a woman saying it. And so that kind of happened. Theo made a layout mashup of your teammates, and there was rightfully probably a travel on that throw, but the video was not about the throw. I guess I don't really have a question. I'm just like, it's a PSA for you out there. If you have your phone out and you're typing in travel or gratuitous, just erase it. Nobody needs to see it. It's not helpful. It's boring. It's basic. Get out of here with that. Okay, so my actual question. I'm very opinionated, and I did respond to 2 of them. I've got 3 more to go.
I saw that, so I was ready for it. I was like, Danie, you're just bringing the heat. I do enjoy that.
I wrote some not so nice drafts first, but then I decided to pretend like I didn't think that he was understanding the rule of travel, and I thought I should explain it to him and how it works about making calls on the field, not on Instagram. So my question, or my stage to provide for both of you, is I would love for you to shout out some of your teammates, especially rookies, people that kind of it's hard to show up in these moments if all you've done is play juniors, and to go and play against like top adult club players playing college, like that's amazing. So I would love to kind of leave this space for you to shout out some of your teammates or shine some light on them, and we'll go with Maddy first.
Where do I start? There's just so many.
I know, it's hard.
Honestly, I just shout out my entire team because like everyone is like so good. Honestly, like all of our rookies, like they all just like showed up. Like they all like played so well, and it like seemed like they were playing college or like at a high level for like so long. So like it's hard to like pick out just one of them. Some people that like come to mind is like Doug is what we call her. Her name's Grace. She like was an incredible like handler the entire weekend. So composed with the disc, as well as like had some incredible layouts. Ella, one of our other rookies, she had like 2 foot blocks in like Stanford. Like it was like crazy. There's like Mika, she was also insane. Like Sandra had some like incredible like big grabs. Like I could keep on going like all day, but those are just some of the rookies that like came to mind for sure.
Amazing. Grace?
Yeah, I would agree. Also just context, because there's 2 Graces, like I'm known as Grass on the team and Grace Dew is known as Doug. So that's why like Maddy keeps fumbling over the words. But like it's so funny. I was like, I went up to her, I'm like, so I think I've decided I'm going to give you a nickname. And so what are your thoughts on this? And she was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I was like, perfect. You're going to be Doug now.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's you hear it on the field, which is the best part. Yeah, I think rookies, I think I would also add Andrea. I think Andrea was an absolute monster on D. She was so good. And then just like, there were so many rookies that they just kind of like stepped up this weekend. And then I think a lot of the vets also really stepped up, like Emily Chong and Denny or Denise Sue. They really stepped up on that D-line. Helena also popped off on D-line. And then on O-line, you had like Nancy, you had Anna, and like everyone. Like this is just like I would honestly name the whole team if I could, but everyone like popped off this weekend. It was so amazing being on the sideline, watching them and just supporting them.
Because that's the thing that's really unique about this team amongst more than any other college team, from what I can tell, is that you have like 24 starters essentially. Like you have people that are maybe like, the people on your team that get the least amount of playing time would be starters on other teams. It's kind of like how different your team is and how deep it is something that makes it really special, because you go to these top teams. Did Dawn sit a single point basically the whole tournament? Probably not. I think she played every single point that I saw basically, and you don't need to do that because you can rely on people. So just like super stoked. Your team's awesome.
And I just want to add like a comment on that. I think it's really fun to be a part of a team that's like the level of playing is so high. But the fact that we like trust one another, but also just like support one another, like we're cheering on the sidelines. Like if somebody's not playing, they're like cheering and like uplifting their teammates. It's really nice because all of us just like enjoy and like see how competitive and like skilled everybody on our team is. So we just want to like give each other the platform to like shine. So like to be able to like give that to them and like as teammates being able to see them like thrive is like so fun to watch, because yeah, our like team just like wants to support one another, and I think it's really fun to be a part of a squad that really like prioritizes that.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on the show. We're excited for your next journey, conferences, regionals, and then nationals. Danie, maybe Ultiworld, they can fly us out and we'll do some UBC games on commentary. Let's go. That's what we're asking for. Charlie, Keith, Aiden, Steve, that's what we're asking for. Huckin Eh on the commentary, UBC on the field. Can't ask for much more than that. So thank you too for coming on and taking time out of your busy student athlete schedules. So thank you for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Theo, as somebody who cut that footage, I feel like you saw the game at a more micro level than I did. Like I definitely watched the footage through, but you cut the whole thing. What were some trends that really stood out to you? I know we've just talked to Maddy and to Grace, but was there something that stood out to you that was like the major strength of UBC?
Well, I think one thing for sure is the fact that we mentioned this in the interview. Oftentimes in college, you'll see like I remember Texas A&M specifically with Dalton Smith, like they just run it all through him, and kind of like for certain college teams, you just know them by their one player. But on UBC, that's not really the case. When I was like cutting it, I was like, this person, because I didn't know the names at that time. Number 80's popping off, then 47's making a catch, and it's like then Maddy's doing something, and there was just a mix of players doing things, and even on their D line. Getting scores and breaks, and something that's something I did note and mention in the interview as well, is that their ability to kind of fight through those bad times and kind of push back. So the fact that they pushed back against Carleton, making it from 13-11, breaking back to get to 13-12, those things like are good signs for their future because we hope to see them at nationals. So
yes.
That's sort of what I took away. That I'm not going to say it's faceless army because that's totally not true, because I know people have said that about certain teams. It is a name-filled army of U20 Team Canada players. You got to know their names, but there's a lot of them, so they don't need to rely on one person. And I think that's actually going to build a lot of success at a high-level tournament like regionals and then obviously at nationals. So
yeah,
that's my prediction.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think that what was really notable to me was they were a lot more conservative than I think a lot of college teams are. And I know that they probably had to be against those top teams. They really had to care a lot about possession and keeping possession. And some of their turnovers were more execution errors. I very rarely saw them make a bad choice, which is just kind of a tip of the hat or a nod to the experience level of the team and the depth, because they were playing everybody. And across the board, it was good decisions. So I'm really excited. I kind of almost wish that they would open the field up a little bit more. But when I watched the Carleton game, they did connect on a lot more deep looks. And I think probably in their other games that weren't filmed, that was the case too. I think against UNC, they didn't connect on a couple early on. And I think they got a little gun shy, and they were just being given free unders. Like they were being backed pretty much that whole game. So it was like them making the smart, safe decisions the whole time. The team's very mature. It's very exciting.
Yeah, we talked about the specialness of the team, and when you get a mix of all that experience, it's going to bode well. And so we don't want to, we're giving the UBC hype right now, so we're almost selling the university to
go there.
Potential recruits. So I know, Danie, as a UVic alum, that must hurt you a little bit, but I also know you want to celebrate all the community in Canada. So I think you're okay with us, giving UBC some hype right now.
Yes, UVic's dope. My heart is there, but my heart's like, I think normally I didn't know that many players on UBC except for as like opponents. Now I know all the players on UBC pretty much, and I've connected with them off the field. So I feel very, very much full support, full fan, full TBirds. Give me a jersey yesterday, please.
Wait, so what you're saying is you'd wear a TBirds jersey on the podcast, which is great.
Yeah,
showing your love. I think some UVic teammates that you had might be upset about that, but
nah, we're all like older now. We're like 30. Like, come on. Yeah, we don't hold grudges.
The good times have passed in terms of college ultimate. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
and for sure, Danie, I want to echo the fact that you know everyone on UBC, because when I was cutting those highlights, I'm like, this person made a sweet play. I'm like showing you a screenshot. Who is this? And you're like, blah blah blah. U20 prospect. This person. These like. Giving all the stats. So, you're a UBC ultimate there.
It's true. Thank you. Definitely do. Theo, what's happening in our next episode?
Mystery box.
It's a mystery box, as always.
I know you thought that we were going to tell you what it was, but it's a mystery box.
Now, you do know our socials, though. That's not a mystery. Can you give it to us one more time?
Huckin_A. That's all I got to say. Instagram. Hit us on the follow. We're on the road to 1K. We're going to be throwing some more highlights out there. So make sure you follow along. You've heard Danie's rant. Don't do what some people were doing today, and you'll be good. That's all I got to say about
Just
that.
Like unnecessary. if you have written out the word travel or gratuitous, backspace, 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 all the way, and just move on with your life. No one needs it. All right. And on that note, it's been great having you. Theo, it's been nice seeing you. And we're going to be seeing each other a little bit more frequently, it seems, now that Frisbee is back up and running. And we've got lots of exciting things happening, lots of teams to be talking to. So thank you, everybody, for following along. And thank you, Theo, for being a human that I get to see and enjoy talking to on a semi-infrequent, regular basis.
Yeah, just not during work hours. So, Danie, I won't message you during work hours.
You're muted anyway.
Yeah, I'm muted now. So, I do like to DM Danie a lot. This is the last thing that we'll end with here.
A lot.
And I'll be like, I have this idea. Oh, like, what do you think about this?
But it's not one message with all of that. It's before a sentence is even ended, it's send. New message, send. New message, send. And it's like, to get out one thought.
5 in a row of the same idea, for
the
sure.
Worst
like,
kind of person.
I will not deny that.
All right.
So I'll tell you, Danie, right now, I've been muted out of some captain's chats before, so I do like to, talk a lot, especially in the one sentence breaks, as you mentioned. So
yeah.
On that note, we'll see you later.
We'll mute ourselves too. Okay, bye everyone.
This is Dave from Alberta Flatball Club, and you're listening to the Huckin Eh podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.